My colleagues have been trying to get everyone to move in. We are going to start the meeting now. It would be excellent if those of you kind of on the periphery could move in and take a seat. My name is Manisha Butra. I work at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. I will be telling you a little bit more about this project shortly, but I wanted to kick it off by turning it over to the lovely Mayor Kennedy. See, I almost said our mayor because that's how I feel about this project. Lynn has become my city. I really, really love it here.
Thanks, Manisha. And in fact, Manisha has spent so much time here that she might as well be considered an honorary resident by all of us. She's probably more familiar with the downtown than many of those people that live in the more suburban neighborhoods of Lynn. So I certainly would match your knowledge of downtown one-on-one with anybody from some of those more distant suburban type areas. Thank you all for coming. We've been working for a couple of years now with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council to get some of their insight on what they could envision as a future for Lynn's downtown. We all see what's happening around us. We see the restaurants coming in. We see traffic on Union Street at night, which I think is a wonderful problem to have because for so many years you wouldn't see any cars on Union Street at night. And the downtown is certainly rebounding very well over the last few years, but we want to see what we can do to bring it to an even more lively use. And Manisha and Mark and all of those at MAPC have kept that in mind when they've evaluated their recommendations for downtown Lynn. So I really want to thank both of them and all of their staff at MAPC for helping out the city. And if I had an honorary citizenship document, I would give it to you. So thank you all for coming and listening. Thanks for your interest.
Thank you so much. Mark, would you like to come up and say a few words about MAPC?
Thank you, Manisha, and thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Mark Drayson. I'm the Executive Director of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and I know that MAPC is not exactly a series of words that just rolls off the tongue. Not everybody in Greater Boston or in Massachusetts knows what it is. So I thought I'd just take a couple of minutes to tell you the broad outlines. MAPC is the regional planning agency for Greater Boston. We are established under the general laws of Massachusetts, and we actually celebrated our 50th anniversary just at the end of last year. We work with the cities and towns throughout the Greater Boston region, actually 101 cities and towns, to assist them in all manner of activity that relates to land use planning and also municipal governance. Transportation, protecting the environment, encouraging economic development, dealing with housing issues, water and sewer, you name it. We have expert staff at MAPC who work to assist the cities and towns in each of those areas. And one of the great things about that is we're not in just one silo. We're not in just one topic area. We're not just an advocacy organization for housing, or just an advocacy organization for the environment, or just an advocacy organization working on public safety, even though those are all wonderful and important issues. We try and look at things sometimes from 10,000 feet and ask, how do all these systems work together? How can you have development without encouraging so much traffic that you have problems? How can you make sure that as a community grows, it has the water and sewer services it needs? How do you make sure that if more young people are moving into town and having kids, that there will be services for them at a top-notch school system? And that makes our work sometimes a little tough because people love to stay in their silos sometimes. But we think that as we assist cities and towns, it's best to look at things kind of from this holistic approach. How can you make everything tick at the same time? And we are really thrilled that with some funding that we received from the federal government about 3 years ago, we were able to kick off this problem, envisioning a future for downtown Lynn that is every bit as bright as the city and its residents deserve. We decided at the very beginning not to duplicate all the plans and analyses that have happened in the past, but to read those, to build on them, to find the common themes, and then to ask what are some concrete steps that can be taken by the mayor's administration, by the city council, by the Chamber of Commerce, by other organizations to actually move the downtown forward. And today, we are unveiling what is that analysis, those findings, and the draft list of recommendations. We're going to keep it open for the next several weeks so that we can incorporate the ideas we hear here tonight, and also those that you might get to us online or over the phone over the next few weeks. Lynn is one of the biggest cities in the Metro Boston region. We feel it has a very bright future, and we are hoping that this is going to be the beginning, not the end, of a long-term working relationship between MAPC and the people and government of the city of Lynn. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. So I'd like you all to just sort of take a moment and look around the room. This is sort of a symbol for what this project is all about. We're in City Hall. This is your place. One of your primary amenities here in this downtown Lynn cultural district. There's a lot going on here, and the future is really bright for Lynn. Also, you all represent a lot of different organizations and interests, and you all need to come together to help build on the vision, because it's your vision. That's what we hope. What we're presenting today is MAPC's recommendations, informed by a lot of conversations that we've had with many, but not all of you. As Mark said, we will be accepting comments on this over the next week or so in terms of more in detail, but you know, it's an ongoing kind of living document. But with that, I really just want to reiterate again, this is your plan, and we're going to take a few minutes to do introductions. There's probably like 40 or 50 people in the room, so yeah, it's going to take a few minutes to actually get through everyone, but just keep in mind if we keep to Emily's instructions, we can get through it quickly, and it'll help us all kind of get energized for this process. So this is Emily Torres Cullinane. She's my colleague and right-hand woman, or I should say, I guess left-hand woman at MAPC. We share an office. We have done a lot of the work together. She's been instrumental in making this project happen.
All right, well, thank you everyone for coming. Welcome. It is a Tuesday night, it is rainy, but we are going to talk about the future of Lynn. But before we do that, I want to hear about who is in the room. And I want your neighbors to know that you're here so that we obviously can move forward. So I'm going to ask very quickly for you to all, one by one, just stand, say your first name, last name, if you'd like. You know, mention if you're a resident, if you're here because you own a business, if you're a city councilor, thank you for the city councilors that are here tonight. And one word, what is the vision that you have for Lynn? And I'm gonna really challenge you to just say one word. Is it, you know, safety? Is it family? Is it vibrant? So what is your vision for downtown Lynn? Using one word, so your name, sort of your affiliation very quickly, and your one word. And I'm gonna start here with Chris. Just yell it out. We won't pass the mic, but just stand and yell it out.
Chris Bibby, Bibby Real Estate, vibrant.
Ann Principe, Community Minister, and Connections.
You take it. No. Judy Kennedy, Mayor. Hip.
Jamie Marsh, Community Development Director at Destination.
Steve Shea at the Lynn Area Chamber, Growth.
Hi, Gavin McCullough, Commercial Real Estate, and my one word is revitalization.
Sunila Valenzuela, de Turi Salon, Texturas and Design, 69th Street.
And Honor Jace, Beauty Salon, Union Street. I'm very excited for this idea. Thank you.
Nathanael Valenzuela. I work for the Christian Chamber of Commerce, and I want to see it cultural.
Kerry Provide, country guy, I guess the word would be prosperous.
Ann Mannion, Century Bank, and a lifelong resident of Lynn. Opportunity.
I'm Terry Felici. I'm a resident of the Boston Machine Lofts.
and thriving.
Corey Jackson, resident of Sloan Machinery Lofts and managing director of Arts After Hours. And my word is community.
Hi, Sarah Jackson, resident at Sloan Machinery Lofts and owner of Sarah Jackson Sloan Downtown. My word is hub.
What is it?
Hub.
John Nickett, board of Arts After Hours and pastor of First Lutheran Church in that suburban area. And a resident, and let's do happening.
Hope Abramson, resident and vibrant.
Okay.
Karen Johnson, resident, progressive.
Mike Crowns, resident of the Keith Building right in downtown Lynn. Also, I'm on the board for Arts After Hours, and my word would be welcoming.
Brendan Crichton, former Ward 5 City Councilor and current at-large Councilor. My word is bold.
My name is Carlos Diaz, and I'm a resident at Boston Machine Lofts, and I thought of cool.
Debbie Smith-Walsh, Lynn Community Health Center, jobs.
I'm Cindy Steger-Wilson. I'm also at Lynn Community Health Center, so I'll have to say healthy.
Soraya Cassisi, downtown Lynn resident and business owner, and my word, I guess since Brendan stole mine, is exciting.
All right.
Sean Lobdell, downtown resident. My word would be boom.
Janice Poleski, school department employee.
Children? Children's a good word.
Diana Thomas, Ward 5 counselor and growth.
Mary Jane Smalley, EDIC Land Progress.
Hi, Jim Cowdell, lifelong resident of Lynn, EDIC director. I like vibrant.
Okay. For you.
I'm Norma Gallagher, and I'm a retiree from Capital Insurance.
Okay. Well.
So that's it.
Jeff Whedon with the Lynn Housing Authority, and I'll say growth.
Norm Cole, lifelong resident, worked for the Housing Authority, thriving.
Don Walker, lifelong Lynn resident, and I work for the Office of Economic and Community Development, and my word is energy.
Rick Starbuck from the Lynn School Committee, member of the Lynn Chamber of Commerce, and my word would be pride.
Rick Wood. I have a business here in Lynn. I'm a Lynn resident. I'm on the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm actually chairing the Government Affairs Committee this year. And my word would be momentum.
I'm John Feinberg. I got here late and I don't know what we're doing.
All right, just introduce yourself, your name, if you're a resident, or your affiliation, and what's that one word that you really, what's that one vision for downtown Lynn that you have?
Okay, I'm John Feinberg. I've been in Lynn for 3 years, member of the New Lynn Coalition, and there's a hyphen, equitable growth.
Equitable growth.
Jeff Crosby, North Shore Labor Council, New Lynn Coalition, Thistle Street, Dignity.
Nice.
Paul Bresnahan, new resident, and transportation.
Okay.
I'm Janae Foster, staff at the Food Project in downtown Lynn, and my word would be self-sufficient.
Elizabeth Dada, youth at the Food Project, and my word would be strong.
Nice.
Strong. Hello.
Yeah.
So, my word would be hope. And my name is Esmeralda Diaz. I work for the Food Project.
Great, thanks.
Martin Fabio, I'm principal at St. Mary's, and my word would be education.
Thor Jurgensen, daily item, Lynn resident, cleaner.
Okay.
Brian, work at the Lynn Museum and at the Cultural District, and my word is collaboration.
Thanks.
Gary Quinton, almost 30-year resident, I guess in one of those suburban areas. I'm going to use 2 words, blue line.
David Zeller, Zeller Insurance. My word is development.
Okay. Cassie Vitale, Executive Director at LinnCam, born and raised in Lynn, and I have 2 words, but they don't go together like yours, fun and pride.
And then do we have someone in the back? No, my daughter.
You can still say something. Yeah, your name, where you're from, and then 1 word for Lynn. We're gonna make you participate.
What is it?
I'm Seth Albaum, president of the Downtown Lynn Neighborhood Association, editor of LynnHappens.com. I'm recording this for LynnHappens.com and for my neighbors who can't be here tonight. My word is everything.
And I challenge you to, tonight, as you hear the presentation, listen for that word. And if we missed it, make sure to let us know. Thank you. Manisha.
Thank you all. It's really nice to start on that up note. I hope that it energized you the way it energized me. So what we have here is dtl.mapc.org. It is our project report in the form of a website. It was just launched today, so this is why, I hadn't announced the actual URL prior to this meeting. And some sections are, just so right off the bat, just to tell you, it's not 100% complete yet, but we wanted to get it live and to start collecting your feedback as soon as possible. So what this website covers is background on the project, who we talked to and what we learned, and our recommendations. I'm going to just quickly page through the website so you know what's there. In your packets that you got up at the front door, if you didn't get one, they're still out there, I believe. There's a printout of the current website. It's a PDF, and I don't know if you've had experience with this. Sometimes when we print out websites, some formatting gets a little screwed up, so just bear with it. Hopefully most of the text that you need is there if you want kind of a print version of what's online. And also, since it's kind of a living, breathing thing right now, and hopefully for always, this captures a snapshot of what we're presenting today, because it is going to change over the next few days. So anyway, this is the homepage. Another little caveat, not to tell you all the problems before I even get started. So I think one of the things, I don't remember if it made it to the feedback form, but just to think about, I know some of the colors and things like that may not work for everybody in terms of, visual clarity. I'm not necessarily asking for your aesthetic preferences and whether you like the look, but I certainly want everything on this website to be as accessible as possible. So if you have suggestions in that regard, definitely please don't feel shy to include those in your comments, whether in the written feedback form, talking to us after the meeting, or by email. And with that, I will just page through the website, because I'm sure I'll think of other things to tell you as we go along. So this is the homepage. The little note at the bottom just says things are still in draft mode. The picture is actually from the downtownlynn.com blog, which is run by Corey Jackson. I believe he took this photo himself. It's a picture of the view from High Rock Park, and I think it's a really cool picture that captures downtown Lynn. So the website goes through, up at the top you'll see the 4 sections about this project, who we met, what we learned, and our recommendations. And when you click through each one, on the left-hand side, there will be kind of the navigation of sections within that heading. So this section has an overview of the website, like kind of more narrative on what each section includes. The mission, partners, and scope, it lists all the members who actively participated in our team of advisors, which I'll speak about shortly. An acknowledgements page, which is still under construction, and this might be handy, you know, when you're lost later on, when you're at home, kind of trying to navigate through things. The site map actually is sort of like a table of contents with active links to every page within the website. So I think many of you have the opportunity to participate in one or another meeting, and actually that reminds me, Mark, we have a camera tonight. If you or Emily want to take some photos of tonight's meeting, I think it really helps to capture how we've been able to talk to a variety of folks. Just by a show of hands, who is attending their first meeting related to this project? I thought I saw a lot of new faces, so that's really great. A lot of you also have come to several meetings related to this project, so I'm gonna, you know, try to keep the tone to like a little bit of review and a little bit of, and a lot of the new stuff. So as I've mentioned before, community engagement was a big part of our process. We worked with a team of advisors, and what you'll see a lot in this website are like links to external content. This is a website called SlideShare that gives you the option of embedding slides from events and PowerPoints right within the website. Just so you know what that is if you haven't encountered that before. Our team of advisors was a group of people who came together from a variety of different constituencies and organizations 3 times over the course of the project to help guide our recommendations, as well as tell us you know, who else we should be talking to. The meetings were in the morning, so we had some folks who we knew were community leaders who had conflicts with that meeting time, but this was a great way for us to kind of get the pulse of the community. In April, we did an activity called the Downtown Lynn Data Walk. We actually developed a survey in this app called Local Data, and folks went around the community with smartphones or tablets that had a connection to the internet and answered questions about property conditions, site conditions, land uses, things like that, things that would be useful in terms of thinking about revitalization. Many of you attended our open house and public forum. I think the favorite sort of product I worked on is this slideshow of what you said. I would definitely encourage you later on your own time to page through the slideshow. You'll see a lot of images from it throughout the website, but it captures, if you weren't able to be there or if you want to relive it, it captures what happened. And the other presentation, actually, if you remember, we actually got to use these keypad polling devices where we asked a number of questions of everybody in the audience, and everybody could choose an option from 1 through 10, and the results would pop up instantaneously, and you can kind of page through those. And those are some of the ways we learn whether we're on the right track in terms of what we're observing and hearing about Lynn and what our recommendations might be. And the other thing we did is we actually did a lot of interviews that were one-on-one or with small groups. If groups invited us to come and present to them, like the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce, Government Affairs Committee, for example, or the North Shore Latino Business Association, we offered those presentations, and we also tried as much as we could to actually network with the community and attend community events when we could, because that's how we fell in love with Lynn. So this actually is a really comprehensive listing, sorry, I don't want to make anyone dizzy, of everything we did. And then this section talks more about the analysis that went behind the scenes. We talk a lot about this vision, and it's like, what is the vision? Well, what we found was Lynn and downtown in particular have done a number of different planning exercises over the last decade or so, and then there have also been a number of infrastructure investments and zoning changes that have helped spur and catalyze development. What we were also kind of hearing is that things are happening and things are moving in a certain direction, and I think people feel a lot of enthusiasm for that, but there's also a sense that things could be maybe moving faster, and what things could happen to make that the case. So I will come back to the vision, but I'll just quickly kind of click through the different pages. There's a page on the project location. Lynn is a city. I think that's something, when you're thinking about the surrounding communities, this is a much bigger, more complex community than some of the others. So I just think it's something to keep in mind when we're thinking about recommendations and what it means to be in Lynn. We did some analysis of demographic characteristics. Lynn is really diverse. I don't think that's a secret, but I think it's always kind of interesting to see the actual data in that regard. This page actually does need to be updated with some more graphics and charts. One of the sort of more comprehensive parts of the website right now is our review of previous efforts. I'd say for a little over 10 years, and to my knowledge, there has been really a big effort locally to think about the future of downtown. I think one of the first major planning initiatives was this downtown charrette plan or workshop where a group of consultants worked with the city to get folks like yourselves together to think about the future of Lynn. And some of the things we read in that plan and all the subsequent plans still hold true today, and we were able to sort of see where some progress has been made or maybe things need a little more of a boost. So the Lynn Downtown Plan Workshop, and actually on this page on the right-hand side, and I do realize I think I need to change the colors on these because they're not always easy to read. You'll see in a chronological order the plans that we've looked at for the last 10 years. And so we looked at a combination of land use plans as well as economic development plans. Scrolling. We also looked at a few plans that weren't necessarily, a lot of this information is actually on the Department of Community Development's website, but we also looked at a few plans that were from other organizations such as the New Lynn Coalition, and I used some notes from the Dr. Barry Bluestone presentation at the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce awards dinner last year. We undertook a pretty thorough analysis of downtown zoning, including the Central Business District, the Washington Street corridor area, which includes the Washington Street overlay as well as the Sagamore Hill overlay. Those are zoning terminologies. And the area, if I click on this, you'll see it better, that you see kind of outlined in black. I realize it's hard to read, but you don't have to memorize it. This is a piece where I could still use some help. I think I got a lot of great information, and I know it's incomplete, but I wanted to demonstrate the level of amazing investment that's really happened in the community. Like sometimes it feels like, okay, why are things sputtering along? But when you actually look at the list of some of the things that have happened over the last 10 years, you start to think, okay, we're making progress. So I highlighted a few things that I was aware of, and I think the language probably needs to be updated because I got some of this information from the city in preparation for our meeting in May. And for example, the example of Rossetti and Dimitri's was right before it opened, and it's open now. So, and they're both fantastic. So anyway, I definitely would love your feedback on that page in terms of what else to add and details. So we did this survey, as I mentioned, and we also looked at City of Lynn assessors data. Some of the analysis from our project team, from our data services staff, actually put together one of our calendar maps. So every year MAPC puts together, our annual report is an annual report in calendar, which I believe we brought some today to share with you all. August is the month of downtown Lynn. So I definitely recommend that you all check that out. This is another sort of work in progress, both in terms of the background analysis as well as some of the formatting and things like that. But there are two maps that are from another MAPC product called a Metropolitan Data Common that visually display some of the results of the local data survey that we did with volunteers, as well as information from assessors that we thought was particularly interesting. So if you scroll over these, you can play around with these on, when you go home. I think this one is flash, so it may not work very well on a phone, but it does work really well on the desktop. And you just hover over different properties, you get information, and then you can kind of turn on and off. In this other example, select characteristics and find like all the properties in, I believe, probably green. I can't see the thing, but you can click from this drop-down menu, and it's not working at the moment, but it does. I think it's just the connection. You can click, there's a drop-down menu, and you can find, it'll select from our survey results, where did our volunteers find a salon, or so maybe your salon is actually in, you should check, like, did we get it right? Did we get the location right? And kind of to demonstrate the mix of uses that already exist here in downtown. So that's on the property characteristics page, and that page is going to have more detail coming up, but even now, if you want to look at it and provide us with any feedback, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Community assets is another section that I think out of any section in the report right now, this one needs a lot of work, but I did include the visuals from our May meeting to just give you a flavor of where it's going. There's so much that this community has to offer, not only in terms of destinations, but also in terms of other amenities such as organizations or websites and repositories of information like websites or blogs that this page will highlight. I can't see my scroll bar. So back to the vision. I think somebody said momentum as their word. Actually, all of the words were really great, and I was pretty surprised with how many of you came up with a unique word. That wasn't necessarily the goal of the exercise, but I think they were all really positive, really energetic words to think about in terms of achieving the vision for downtown Lynn, and any of those could make it to the list for what is the vision. So this is our first stab at it. Again, it's based on everything we've heard from you and our review of previous efforts. Downtown Lynn is the city's dynamic and diverse center for commerce, civic engagement, and social gathering. It is a beautifully maintained community that is highly regarded as a regional destination for arts, culture, dining, and shopping. Downtown Lynn is an inclusive, multicultural, engaged, and well-coordinated community where residents, businesses, organizations, and institutions frequently come together to reflect on community priorities and creatively problem-solve collaborative solutions to make downtown Lynn even better. So with all of that analysis and the vision that was guiding our work, we came up with a series of recommendations. I'm not going to go through every single one. I think I will open it up to discussion after I just talk about the big headings. And I do encourage you all to look at these in particular, because this is sort of, did we get it right? What's missing? Is it comprehensive? But also, are there areas where we could add more specificity and detail? I think one thing to also keep in mind is if we say something like, well, the city should do this, it's not our intention to say that it's not already happening, because we recognize that all parties are already doing a lot. I think by articulating it here, we have an opportunity to make it more intentional, more transparent, and also indicate that we heard certain things from the community that I think one of the recommendations is just that planning and coordination efforts need to be more visibly communicated. Well, I think one of the things we heard, we would talk to someone from a bank and they'd say the nonprofits were not coordinated, and then we talk to the nonprofits and they'd say, well, we all meet regularly and we are coordinated. Or, you know, we'd hear, oh, well, the city isn't taking care of this, then we talk to the city and they're like, well, actually, these are all the things we're doing. So I think one of the big challenges is putting the word out there and all continuing to come together in this type of forum, or in forums like our team of advisors that we did for this project, or the Lynn Area Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee being another example. I think the group that came together for the Downtown Lynn Cultural District, stakeholders meetings, any of those are great examples of just convening cross-sector partnerships to really think together what is going to make downtown Lynn really thrive. So again, I'll just read off the big bold headings that are in your packet. There's like a thick packet and then there's a thinner one. The thinner one actually pulls these out a little bit more legibly without all the background formatting. So you can refer to those and look at those as I read them, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So the headings are: improve coordination and communications of municipal planning and land use development efforts, amend the City of Lynn zone ordinance to promote a live, work, play, learn environment, strengthen existing businesses and attract new ones to encourage downtown development activity and progress, support efforts to make downtown an arts, culture, and dining destination, continue to invest in infrastructure improvements that promote redevelopment and improve sustainability, promote community stewardship of downtown Lynn, and the last one on the screen is actually not a heading, it's just a misformatting, it's the same. Details are below. So with that, does anyone have any thoughts right off the bat? I'd love to open it up for discussion.
Could you say a little bit about what it means to be a live, work, play, learn environment?
So this goes back to, you know, one of the things we heard was making downtown a regional destination. But, you know, on the one hand, that doesn't necessarily address making it a really livable place for its residents or for the city as a whole as kind of the center of commerce for the city. I think if you think about the existing amenities in downtown Lynn, there are places to learn, places to live, people work here, and people come to events like this, so that's kind of the play part. And I think thinking about all those things together is what's going to help achieve, I think, as John said, kind of that equitable development, where you're thinking about how all those pieces fit together. And the zoning recommendations we made specifically talk about some things like in the central business district zoning and some of the other districts that could help promote that. For example, right now, the area right next to the train station is still zone light industrial, so that limits what could happen in a, you know, terms of a transit-oriented development activity and really creating a strong center right around that area. That's just a random example. There's a lot more specific examples in the document, but does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything in the current plan that addresses environmental land use planning? Like at the food project, we really care about making sure that people have access to healthy food. Like, is there space for there to be urban agriculture or community gardens or things like that?
So, yes and no. I think that is one place where we didn't go into a lot of depth in the current effort. The heading, I guess the two headings, but continue to invest in infrastructure improvements that promote redevelopment and improve sustainability. That's kind of where we talked about things like green infrastructure. We didn't really go into depth, but just said these are areas for further exploration. Or remediating brownfields, which are contaminated development sites that make it really hard to bring new development in. I do remember somewhere, I think it's probably in the piece about promoting it as a destination or promoting community stewardship of supporting efforts like the one you talked about. And that's where I would also really encourage you, if you have language you'd like me to review and, you know, consider and add in if it fits, email me, because I would love to add that in. I think this is where it's like you try to be comprehensive and there's always parts, and that's actually a really critical element that I think is also, I think would help make Lynn more hip and happening.
I was wondering if there was anything written in about, you know, bike paths that would be like connecting downtown to like the waterfront, because I know currently there's the bike path that stops in Saugus, and it just would be, I think that would be something that people would really value to have bike, you know, be able to bike from here down to Boston if you could, you know, go along the waterfront or, you know, to get to Revere, and et cetera, so, because that is a big thing in a lot of other communities.
As a part of a couple separate projects, MAPC has explored some regional bicycle amenities, as well as talked about adding amenities to connect downtown, just the way you said. They're more kind of just referenced or mentioned here, and I think there are a few more details we can add. We didn't go into it in detail, but it's definitely something that, to me, is in keeping with the spirit of this plan. Yeah, I think, again, I would encourage you, if you have specific language you'd like us to consider, please forward it along. I don't know if you're talking about Bike to the Sea, or there's a couple other efforts that I'm...
Well, I know there is the Bike to the Sea, and I know that...
And I think that, yeah, I think I know of the other one you're talking about, but I can't.
But I mean, just having lived in Somerville, and like, you know, my brother was in Lexington, and just the bike path is just such a huge thing, and so many people use it, and then there are little stores that crop up along the way, and it just, I think that would bring a lot of people here that, you know, I think that would be great.
One of the plans, it doesn't go so much into bicycle amenities, but the downtown street, Market Street vision plan does provide recommendations on streetscape improvements that are intended to make downtown a little more bicycle and pedestrian friendly. And that's, again, where we're building upon previous efforts. So that's one document to reference. But again, I think those things could probably rise to the top a little more than they have. So I'll consider that, certainly.
I've noticed that there's often a very blurry distinction between redevelopment and gentrification. So I'm wondering how that factored into your analysis and your recommendations, and if there is anything explicit about ensuring that Lynn stays affordable for the people who live here now and in the future.
So my thought on that, and I think I will also refer to my colleagues at MAPC, is a big part of that is involving the community in terms of thinking about how to thoughtfully develop downtown and involving a diversity of residents. But on the other hand, our zoning recommendations and some of the other recommendations in terms of streamlining local process could help to lessen I think the fear around, well, community process just takes forever and it bogs down development and it prevents development from happening. I think if you think about some of the vibrant places around our region, they're also known for having really active residents, so that they don't have to be in conflict with each other. My personal opinion is that, and I think the research I've read is a huge part of it is active community engagement. And Mark is going to add a few words to it.
Let me comment on a couple of things that have been said briefly and then focus on this issue of gentrification and displacement. I didn't see who asked the question. Was it you? Yes, sir. So first of all, I think in my recollection, there are some sections in the recommendations, in the specific recommendations under these headings, that talk about bicycle amenities and particular bike paths, talk about farmers market, and talk about green space preservation. And I think we could look to those, perhaps with your assistance, but we'll check on it ourselves and see if we could expand them out a little bit more or include a few additional things that are very specific to the city of Lynn. It kind of goes back to the original question that was asked right here by this lady in front of me, which is, what does it mean to have a live, work, learn, play? I think I've got all four. And in some sense, one thing that it really means is that often when you hear people talk about downtowns, they say, well, a downtown should have a lot of vibrant businesses. Or they say, you know, people have to live downtown. Or they say, boy, it really helps the downtown if it's a school. Well, you know what a really vibrant downtown is? It has all of them. That's the thing about a successful downtown. It has all of these things. And green space has to be one of them too. It can't just be all the built environment. It has to be green things as well. So I think we can go and, we can look at the specific things that have been raised here, call those out in the recommendations, see if we can expand upon them a little bit, especially if you send us some specific ideas. It can be a snippet, just, it can be a sentence, and that's fine for adding here. So sometimes people at MAPC turn to me on the displacement and gentrification issue because I'm a housing planner. That's sort of what I did for 30 years before I was at MAPC. And we have produced at MAPC a pretty rigorous list of steps, kind of a toolkit that municipalities can take to encourage development while minimizing displacement. It includes things like, figuring out if you have a surplus piece of state or municipal land, especially whether or not there's an opportunity for affordable housing in that circumstance. It's doing things like inclusionary zoning or linkage, so that when you're building market rate housing, you're also taking a certain amount of money aside for the affordable units. It's working with a state agency called CDAC on issues of housing preservation, because the most important thing, or one of the most important things about keeping a place affordable is preserving the units you currently have that are affordable, because a lot of them are being lost to market forces. So that's just like the tip of those recommendations. A community, in our opinion, should not just build more, shouldn't just build more. Because when you just build more alone, sometimes that can cause gentrification or displacement. It should encourage growth and development, but with all these other steps, so that you can also make sure the benefits of that growth and development also benefit the people who are living there currently.
So I think a big part of my concern is that Lynn is already exceeding its Chapter 42 requirements for the number of affordable units in the city. So there is a very strong push, it seems, in order to raise more money for the city and tax revenue to turn a lot of that into market rate housing. Right. So if we're developing more commercially instead of more residentially, how do we ensure that we're not just converting units, we are maintaining affordable housing, we are keeping Lynn a city that we can afford to live in?
Well, I can only give you sort of MAPC's perspective on that narrow issue. The city of Lynn and all of you have to decide how you do this going forward. But generally speaking, our perspective is you do everything you can not to lose existing affordable units. And there are cities and towns, not just a state, but cities and towns that work actively to sort of even map out where all the affordable units are currently, particularly the ones that do have some controls, which is not everything, but some of them do, and say, what can we do to make sure that those are going to be preserved? The place for debate, I think legitimate debate, is about the development of new housing, where some people may call for more affordable, some people may call for more market. I think you can have that debate effectively if you're doing everything you can to preserve the affordable units that you currently have. That's, and we could talk for hours about that. This is not the time, but just to give you a sense of what our suggestions would be for you folks to consider, that's kind of where we would come at the issue.